3 reasons sitting might be causing your pain, and they aren't physical. We have somehow become a society that is afraid of sitting. We associate sitting with pain or other symptoms and with back, hip, and knee problems. Sitting is said to be bad for you, and if you need to sit, you have to do it right and do it safely. You need the perfect ergonomic chair. You need lumbar support. Don't cross your legs, don't slouch, don't sit too long. Get up every hour at least. Use a sit-stand desk. And if you have pain when you sit, well, obviously something about your body, the way you're sitting, or what you're sitting on must be hurting you. But what if it isn't? If you experience pain or other symptoms when you sit, especially if you have TMS, Mindbody syndrome, or other neuroplastic symptoms, I want you to start questioning the assumption that sitting is the problem. Because sitting is a completely normal human activity. You sit to eat, drive, work, watch a movie, eat at a restaurant, sit on a couch, or take a plane. Your body is absolutely capable of doing these things. So how does something as ordinary as sitting, something your body is capable of doing, and that frankly requires very little physical effort or fitness, end up causing so much pain and so many symptoms for so many people? Here are 3 reasons that you may be having pain while sitting that have nothing to do with a physical or structural problem. 1, your brain can learn associations. Maybe you once had pain while sitting in a particular chair, or maybe you developed back pain and started believing, my back can't tolerate sitting. Maybe you were told that you have a bulging disc, degenerative changes, sciatica, or some other structural problem, and you were led to believe that this finding explains your pain or means you need to be careful with sitting. Your brain remembers these experiences and, more importantly, the meaning that you gave them. So, eventually, sitting itself can become a predictor of pain. You sit down, and your brain essentially says, oh, we're doing this again. This is where we hurt. And suddenly you notice your back, your hip, your knee, your leg. You might start checking your posture or wondering if you're sitting correctly. And this is important. Having something show up on imaging, such as an MRI, doesn't necessarily mean that that finding is the source of your pain or that sitting is damaging you. Many of the structural changes we associate with back pain are common findings in people who have no pain at all. But if you've been told that a particular finding is causing your pain, it's very understandable that your brain would start treating that part of your body as vulnerable. You begin to anticipate the pain when you sit. You monitor the area. You change your position. You get up when the sensation starts. And your brain can learn from all of this. Sitting equals danger equals pain. The sitting itself doesn't have to be dangerous for your brain to predict danger. And when your brain predicts danger, it can produce a very real pain response in absence of any true physical or structural cause. 2, you've been taught to be afraid of sitting. We are constantly told that sitting is terrible for us. We hear about bad posture, weak cores, bulging discs, slip discs, compressed spines, sciatica, unsupportive chairs, and the dangers of sitting too long. And to be clear, I'm not saying that sitting for 12 hours a day is the healthiest lifestyle. Regular movement is important for your overall health. Being sedentary for long periods can have consequences for things like cardiovascular health, metabolic health, and physical fitness. But that is very different from believing, I sat in this chair for 2 hours and now my back hurts, therefore I damaged my back. Or I already have a bad back or bad hips or knees, so they simply cannot tolerate sitting. Or I crossed my legs, so now I have compressed my sciatic nerve. If you've repeatedly been told that sitting is dangerous for your body, it's not surprising that your brain starts paying very close attention to what happens when you sit. And the more you monitor something, the more sensations you tend to notice. 3, your emotional and psychological state can be a part of the pattern. Sometimes, and maybe more often than not, there's something about the situation you're sitting in that your brain does not like. Maybe you're trapped in a long car ride. Maybe you're overwhelmed at work. Maybe you're anxious about something. Maybe you're exhausted and desperately want to leave. You may not even consciously recognize what you're feeling. Your brain doesn't need to consciously think, I'm anxious, or I'm overwhelmed, or I'm tired, for your emotional state to influence your symptoms. The situation itself can become associated with threat, and your brain may use pain or other symptoms to get your attention or encourage you to change that situation. This is one of the things that makes neuroplastic symptoms so convincing. You're sitting in a chair, you feel pain, and you naturally think, the chair is hurting me, or my back isn't supported, or I'm irritating my sciatic nerve. These explanations can feel so convincing because the symptoms are real, but they're not necessarily the cause of the symptoms. I used to have all kinds of explanations for why I couldn't sit comfortably. I needed the right chair. I needed the right pillow behind my back. I needed to stretch. I needed to get up and walk. I also had a history of scoliosis when I was a kid. I had convinced myself that my body simply could not tolerate sitting for very long. And all those explanations sounded logical. That's the tricky thing about neuroplastic symptoms. They feel physical, so naturally we look for a physical explanation. Maybe my muscles are tight, maybe my core is weak, maybe my posture is bad, maybe my spine needs more support, maybe this chair is making things worse. But once you start questioning those explanations, you can begin to see another possibility. Maybe my brain has learned to associate sitting with danger, discomfort, or pain. And that changes what you do when the symptoms show up. So now that we know this, what do you do with it? Take a graded exposure approach. Sit. And when the symptoms start, instead of immediately trying to fix your posture, adjust your lumbar support, or thinking my bulging disc is causing my pain again, pause and notice what's happening. Ask yourself, am I treating the sensation as evidence that sitting is damaging me? Am I waiting for the pain to start, or am I constantly checking my body? And then look beyond the symptom. What am I feeling right now? What's bothering me? Is there something I would rather be doing? Maybe you're anxious, frustrated, bored, trapped, or overwhelmed. But you don't have to figure it all out. Just notice it. And when the symptoms come, acknowledge them without turning them into an emergency. I feel you, I hear you, but sitting isn't dangerous, and I don't need to fix or protect myself from this sensation. I have other things I'd rather be paying attention to right now. Then keep sitting and getting on with whatever you are doing. You're not trying to force the pain away. You're teaching your brain that the sensation doesn't require a response. You can sit and you can have pain or feel a sensation, but you don't need to be afraid of it because sitting is a normal human activity. You're allowed to sit. And maybe it's time to stop being afraid of it. Because when you stop treating sitting like a threat, you give your brain a chance to let the pain go.